Hey friends, tonight we go back to a time of gold, sand, and strange decrees. A time when even the silence had weight, and the sun felt less like a distant star and more like a watchful judge. You stand now in ancient Egypt, somewhere between the desert's hush and the Nile's slow, sensible breath. It is early morning in the capital city of Akhenaten. The name means horizon of the Aton, and it's Nunu in the way royal whims often are. Akhenaten, the pharaoh who thought sandals were too formal for divine communion, built this entire place from scratch. All around you are low, whitewashed buildings rising like half-formed thoughts. The air smells faintly of plaster dust, fresh reeds, and yesterday's fish market. You're barefoot, naturally. Everyone is. The Pharaoh has declared that no one shall wear shoes within the holy zones of the city. Not even him. Being close to the gods, apparently, means close to the dirt. You wriggle your toes and try not to think about the warm squish. You just stepped in. Probably river mud. Probably this was the only city purpose-built for a single god, the Aten, a blazing disk in the sky. The old gods cast aside like worn sandals. Temples to Ammon, Ra, and Osiris, closed, abandoned, or repurposed as slightly awkward goat sheds. Historians still debate whether the people truly believed in this sun-only religion, or just smiled and nodded while keeping their household statues tucked behind curtains. You hear voices, some chanting, others just haggling over lentils. The street is lined with vendors, already half-napping in the shade, fanning themselves with palm fronds and muttering about yesterday's heat, like it was a personal betrayal. A thin man with a crooked smile offers you a dried fig. You take it. It's chewy, slightly crunchy with sand. Delicious, if you imagine hard enough. A child darts past you, barefoot and grinning, and nearly knocks over a jar of lotus oil. No one yells. This is Egypt. The heat does the shouting for you. You walk farther into the market square, where bureaucrats in linen kilts are making a big show of writing something down very seriously. It's probably a list of things they've confiscated in the name of the Aten sandals, cat statues, and the occasional offensive loaf of bread, shaped like a scarab. There is a painted relief on the temple wall nearby of Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti, their long heads tilted, their fingers upstretched toward the Aten's rays. The rays each end in a tiny hand, like the sun is giving them jazz hands. You blink. Yes, the gods do have a sense of humor. Just remember, you probably won't make it through this day. It's hot. The pharaoh's religious reforms are exhausting, and your feet already miss their shoes. But for now, settle in. You're part of a quiet, sun-baked world where everything moves slowly, purposefully, and occasionally backward. If you're enjoying this gentle drift through time, go ahead and softly tap that like button with your sleepy finger. And do leave a comment. Tell us your location and what time it is for you. We like knowing where you're listening from. Now let's ease into tonight's journey and keep walking. You arrive at the edge of the royal quarter, where the buildings turn palatial in that slightly smug way royal buildings do. Columns painted with blue and red lotuses cast lacy shadows over the ground, and guards lean against them, more interested in scratching their sunburns than defending anything. You pass them without challenge. After all, you are no one. And in Akhenaten, women are arranging jars of scented oils, setting out dishes of honey cakes, and trying very hard not to sneeze near the sacred cat. The cat blinks at you. It knows things, ancient things, possibly tax-related. You move through the streets where all the houses are open to the breeze. Curtains made of beads or linen sway gently. Inside one, a scribe is teaching children to read hymns to the Aten. The children are more interested in drawing beetles in the margins. One of them asks if the sun disk can see him picking his nose. The teacher sighs. Ancient teachers sighed a lot, and that's a universal truth across all civilizations. Above you, the sun is beginning its climb. It does not rush. The Aten is never in a hurry. You stop at a public basin to rinse your dusty feet. A woman beside you is washing flax fibers to make thread. She hums a tune, soft and strange. The lyrics, you learn, are about a girl who fell in love with a crocodile. It ends badly, though not in the way you'd expect. The crocodile simply never wrote back. Ghosting, as it turns out, is timeless. Further along the path, you pass a sculptor's yard. Bits of limestone are scattered like bones. You pause to watch as an apprentice carves a profile of the Pharaoh, those famously long facial features, exaggerated like an ancient caricature. Art must reflect divine reality, the master says, although he says it while picking something out of his teeth with a chisel. The heat begins to press against you, more firmly now, like a warm hand on the back of your neck. You notice something peculiar: an old man selling purified dust in tiny pots. He claims it comes from beneath the sacred altar and can bring you dreams sent by the sun. You do not buy any, but you do wonder who is in charge of filtering the dust. Just ahead, a royal procession is winding slowly through the square. Akhenaten himself is visible, tall, thin, with narrow shoulders and long, elegant fingers. He walks barefoot, of course, on a path swept clean by servants with woven fans. He smiles, and the crowd bows as if he were the sun itself. You try bowing, your back creaks. Even ancient backs had their moments. As he passes, people murmur blessings. Some whisper complaints. A few just smile politely and wait for the crowd to clear so they can get back to selling pomegranates. Historians still debate whether Akhenaten was a visionary, a fanatic, or just someone with a particularly intense sunburn. What's clear is that he believed in something different, something radiantly peculiar, and he was willing to remake the entire world to reflect it. As the procession moves on, a breeze stirs the dust at your feet. You feel it curl between your toes, gritty and oddly comforting. The day isn't over. There is bread to bake, errands to run, and yes, more rules to follow. One involves not whistling after sunset. No one's sure why. No one asks. You continue walking, the sun climbing higher, the scent of warm onions drifting from a cook fire nearby. And still, no one wears shoes, because when you want to touch heaven, apparently, you start by touching the dirt. You wander into a quieter part of the city now, where the walls are closer together and the sun only drips down in slices. The air here smells like baked brick and someone's laundry. You hear a fly buzzing lazily, possibly the same one that's been following you since breakfast. If so, it deserves a name. Let's call it Amen of Lies. In one doorway, an old woman sits grinding barley into flour. Her hands move in circles, slow and practiced, as if time itself were something you could knead into dough. She looks up and offers you a nod not unfriendly. just tired in that bone-deep, sun-faded way people get after decades of dust, gods, and government grain rations. Nearby, a group of laborers are dragging blocks of limestone on sledges, pouring water ahead of them to reduce friction. One of them mutters that this trick makes the gods happier than building pyramids, which is fair, because pyramids are out of fashion now. So last dynasty. You pause at a painted wall where more Aten rays reach down, each with those cheerful little hands. Again, someone has scratched a tiny cat into the corner of the mural. The cat is wearing a crown. A child offers you a lotus flower. You accept it, surprised by its strong, honey-sweet scent, supposedly grown from a cutting blessed by Nefertiti herself. Historians still debate whether that garden ever actually existed or whether it was invented later to justify local zoning decisions. In the courtyard beyond, two priests are debating theology. One insists the Aten is a physical force, the sun itself, while the other argues it is light, not the disk, that's divine. You wonder if anyone's told them they're both very tan. You're invited into a small household shringest, a nook, and a ceramic cup of something that smells like yesterday's wine and regret. You nod. That seems sensible. You sit for a moment on a stone bench, the flower in your lap, your feet dusty and slightly numb. It's not in a city built for sun worship and quiet reform. Then someone's goat gets loose. You watch the chaos unfold with a lazy smile. History, after all, isn't just about kings and wars. Sometimes it's about goats, and sometimes those goats remind you it's time to keep moving. Your feet take you downhill now, toward the edge of the Nile. The land flattens, softens, reeds bend in the breeze, and dragonflies stitch lazy circles in the air. You hear the low croak of frogs and the slow creak of a fisherman's or dot boats glide by, carved from papyrus or wood, their sails catching just enough wind to look smug about it. On one vessel, a man reclines with a basket of onions, tossing a few to the water spirits, just in case they get hungry. He winks at you. Insurance, he says. You believe him. The riverbank is busy in a half-hearted way. Women wash clothes, beating linen rhythmically against flat stones. Men mend nets. Children chase egrets, giggling until the birds squawk and flap away like offended nobles. The birds probably remember when they were worshipped. It's been a difficult downgrade. You spot a public notice hammered onto a posta-clay tablet with a decree. Scratched deep into it, it reads, "By order of the Pharaoh, all household altars must face the eastern light." There's a second line added beneath it, more faint, "Unless you want the wrath of the inspection officials." You wonder how wrathful someone can be in this heat. Probably medium. You walk past a red hut where a woman is brewing beer in large open pots. The scent is sour, earthy, alive. She offers you a sip. It's thick, grainy, and surprisingly effective. You're mildly buzzed, and it's not even midday. Ancient Egypt, where the beer is strong, the sun is stronger, and dental plans do not exist. A man nearby tells you he once saw the Aten blink. You're not sure what that means, but you nod slowly and murmur something about divine mysteries. He seems satisfied. A herd of cattle ambles by, guided by a child no older than 7. The cattle are painted with decorative spots. The child is not, but he hums the same lullaby the flax spinner sang earlier. You recognize it now. It's everywhere. Like amenaflies, Downstream, a royal barge is docked. Gold inlays shimmer across its prow. It sits unused, a relic of ceremony that hasn't been needed since Akhenaten decided he preferred walking. The priests hate that. A king should float, one muttered once. That's just how it's always been. Historians still debate whether Akhenaten's decision to walk among the people was political, spiritual, or just a result of seasickness. The sun hangs heavy now, almost overhead, and the river glows like poured honey. You sit in the shade of a tamarisk tree, chewing a date someone handed you without explanation. It tastes like sugar and thyme. A boatman sings as he drifts past, his voice soft as smoke. The song's about a woman who fell in love with the moon, but was scorned because she wore sandals. The moral is unclear, but the melody stays with you. Somewhere nearby, a dog barks once and then gives up. Even it is too tired to finish. You lie back against the cool earth. The Nile hums. The Aten shines. The sand clings to your skin like a gentle reminder. You are very much here and not wearing shoes, and somehow that seems right. The afternoon settles over Akhenaten like a slightly damp wool blanket. Everything slows down even time, which has apparently taken a short nap under a fig tree. The streets aren't empty, but they feel hushed, as if the entire city is holding its breath or trying not to sweat too loudly. You make your way toward the artisan district, where creativity flourishes in the shape of chipped fingernails, aching backs, and absolutely no sandals. Here, pottery wheels hum with a soothing rhythm. A man carves a jackal into a comb, explaining to no one in particular that while jackals are out of fashion religiously, they're still on trend for accessories. You duck into a narrow passage that smells like fresh pigment and singed hair. A group of young artists are copying a fresco of the royal family Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and their daughters beneath the rays of the Aton. The girls are depicted with elongated skulls and impossibly graceful fingers. One apprentice mutters, "They don't sit still long enough to really look like this," before going back to painting what is essentially a holy doodle. Someone offers you a seat and a cup of tamarind water. It's tart and brown, and you pretend to like it out of politeness. Around you, artisans laugh softly, trading stories of badly fired clay and the time someone's cat walked across a drying tablet and was mistaken for a demon. The cat was unimpressed. There's a shrine tucked into the far end of the workshop, small one, unofficial. It's not for the Aten, it's for Ptah, god of craftsmen. It's mostly ignored, but no one has the heart to remove it. Tradition, someone says with a shrug. Historians still debate whether Akhenaten ever truly outlawed the old gods, or if people just stopped asking questions in public. Outside, a boy sells tiny sculptures made of bread dough. He insists they bring luck if you squint at them sideways. You buy one, shaped like a frog. It looks more like a confused shoe, but you keep it anyway. It feels important. It's the temple calling for mid-afternoon prayer, though most citizens observe it with a quiet nod and perhaps a generous stretch. The sun is still very much present, thank you, and the Aten doesn't seem to mind if you honor him lying down. A woman nearby is making perfume. She's heating resin over a fire, mixing it with oil and crushed petals. She lets you smell the resulta heady mixture of myrrh, henna, and nostalgia. She tells you it's called Whispers of the Horizon. You wonder what an ancient marketing department would do with that. As the scent clings to your sleeve and your frog shoe sculpture warms in your palm, you realize something. This city isn't quite what it pretends to be. It's new, yes, but beneath the whitewash and sunbeams, the old rhythms still murmur, and the people, they keep moving, creating, and praying barefoot, of course, but not always to the same God. You continue your stroll, past laughter, fire, smoke, and gods both visible and hidden. You find yourself at the edge of a low-domed structure, tucked behind a palm grove, where even the breeze has stopped to nap. It's a granary, one of the many state-run facilities where food is stored, counted, and argued about. The scribe at the entrance waves you in without looking up. His reed pen scratches faintly on a scroll, already stained with what looks suspiciously like lentil stew. Inside. The air is thick with dust and the faint perfume of very dry wheat. Workers shuffle about barefoot, sweeping piles into baskets, tallying rations, and swatting flies with practiced resignation. One mutters, "The grain gods must be hungry again," before dropping his basket and sneezing. A man explains to you, unprompted, that grain is power, its payment, its temple, tax, its bread, its beer, and occasionally, it's a convenient excuse for why no one has been paid in 3 weeks. You sit on a bench and watch a woman measure barley using a set of balance scales. She adjusts a counterweight shaped like a small bird. "My daughter made this," she says. "She wanted it to fly when the barley was balanced. It doesn't, but the intention is lovely." Above the storeroom door is a faded Cymbalan old glyph for plenty, probably added before the Aten got exclusive divine rights. No one's scraped it off yet. Historians still debate whether this kind of lingering symbolism was tolerated or simply overlooked because no one wanted to repaint in the heat. You help carry a basket to a waiting cart. The driver thanks you with a piece of sun-dried fig cake. It's more seed than cake, and you nearly break a tooth on it. Still, it's appreciated. You tuck the rest into your sash, unsure if it's food or a tool for hammering nails. A young girl near the corner is feeding stray ibises. They picked delicately at the ground, pausing every so often to glare like feathery accountants. One has a limp. The girl hums a lullaby while she sprinkles grain. You recognize the tune again. It follows you, like a menaflies, quiet and constant. As the workers begin to wrap up their tasks, someone lights a bit of incense. The smoke curls up into the beams and mingles with the sunbeams, creating a kind of dusty golden soup. You breathe it in. It tastes like cinnamon, if cinnamon had opinions. About bureaucracy. Outside, the sun tilts just a little. The light sharpens. Shadows lengthen like thoughts unspooled. A temple boy walks by, sweeping the street with a bundle of reeds. He nods at you. You nod back. It feels like something meaningful has passed between you. Probably not, but maybe. You begin to walk again, feeling the dust shift under your heels, the frog-shaped bread charm warm in your hand, and a gentle fullness in your chest. The day is not over, but it's beginning to lean. The sun now sits at that curious angle where everything becomes golden and slightly suspicious. Shadows stretch and smear like lazy cats, who speak in slow, pointed riddles as you pass under an archway adorned with carved sun discs. A breeze stirs your linen tunic. It brings the scent of sand, oil, and faintly toasted onions. The breeze is kind. The gods may be judgmental, but the wind just wants to help. The temple of the Aten is vast and roofless, open to the sky, because Aten must see everything. Else, what's the point of being the sun? You step inside, your bare feet whispering across warm flagstones. Columns rise all around you, painted with pastel lotuses and hymn texts. They don't hold up a ceiling, they just ... stand, like polite, decorative giants. Priests glide through the temple, like shadows that have appointments. They wear sheer linen robes, heads shaved, hands always moving, blessing, pointing, lifting trays of fruit, occasionally tripping over stray cats. The cats, as usual, remain unimpressed. You observe a ceremony in progress. There's chanting, not dramatic or loud, just rhythmic, like breath, like someone humming themselves calm. They offer loaves of bread, long-stemmed flowers, and jugs of sacred water to a golden altar. Then, quietly, they place something unusual, a pair of sandals, worn, cracked, and clearly not part of the official theology. You glance around. No one explains it. No one needs to. Sometimes offerings aren't for the god. Therefore, the person who's still missing them, a priest, notices you watching and gives a nod. Symbolism, he says. That's it. That's all. Started end. Ended on that word alone. There's a courtyard just beyond the temple's inner sanctum. Palm trees line the edges, and sun-warmed stones form a path where initiates sit cross-legged, reciting hymns. One stumbles through a line and sighs, why can't Aten just accept interpretive dance? A nearby teacher frowns so deeply he practically ages a decade. You linger here. The sunlight seems gentler in this part of the city. You think, briefly, of the woman grinding barley, of the sculptor's apprentice, of the bread frog now nestled in your sash. They are part of this world too, even if they don't worship barefoot under an open sky. Historians still debate whether Akhenaten genuinely believed in Aten as a single god, or if the whole thing was an elaborate experiment in centralizing power. But in moments like this, with light falling like honey and sandals resting quietly on an altar, belief feels real. At least for the people who live inside it. You close your eyes for a moment, and when you open them, the shadows are longer still. You emerge from the temple district into the soft blur of late afternoon. The city now glows from within, like it's holding onto the sun a little too tightly. Children dart between shadows. The sounds of daily life grow hushed, less urgent. Even amenaflies seems to be flying slower now. You head toward a residential quarter you haven't visited, yet narrower streets, crumbling walls, paint faded from murals, but still whispering stories. This is where the mid-level officials live, scribes, granary foremen, junior priests, people who know just enough to be tired all the time. Outside one home, a woman is brushing her daughter's hair, singing softly. The girl fidgets, then sits. Still, when offered a fig, you don't understand all the words of the song, but it's the same tune, always that tune. It's stitched into the city's breath. A young man invites you to sit and share a drink. He pours beer from a blackened jug, passing you a bowl. It's less thick than this morning's version, almost refreshing, he says. His job is copying royal decrees, which he calls watching paint dry, but with more ink and fewer laughs. He shows you a half-finished scroll. It's a new law about how many palm leaves can be used in ceremonial fans. Apparently, 2 per official. 3 if your cousin's a priest. The Pharaoh, of course, can have as many as he likes. He prefers 7, the man says, but no one knows why. Historians still debate whether the number 7 held symbolic meaning or if Akhenaten just really liked the breeze. There's a knock on the man's door, his neighbor asking for help with a broken water jar. The 2 exchange glances, shrugged, and disappear together down the corridor. You're left alone in his courtyard, watching the shadow of a palm tree crawl along the floor like an ancient sundial. The city hums low. You hear a woman laughing nearby, and sudden, then quiet again, probably told a joke about temple taxes. Even the jokes here were linen. You take a walk through the alleys behind the houses. Someone's cooking lentils. Someone else is painting birds on a wall. One man is very earnestly rearranging bricks for what looks like the 10th time. It's for airflow, he explains. The bricks disagree, silently. There's a small shrine wedged between 2 homes. It's filled with smooth stones, bits of feathers, and a few coins. No official god is named. The shrine is for whatever listens, as someone wrote in faint ochre on the wall. You leave your bread frog there. He's done well by now. The sun has started to slide behind the cliffs. In the distance, the golden city begins to look bronze, then soft and ash-colored. The light cools, the air stretches, and everything prepares to exhale. You do too. You step out from the alley and watch as the city shifts from motion to pause. Dinner is cooking, shadows are whispering, and someone is singing the tune again. The city is still barefoot, still strange, still sacred, and somehow it welcomes you. Dusk in Akhenaten is not like dusk anywhere else. It doesn't so much fall as exhale a soft, lavender sigh settling over the rooftops. You find yourself by the edge of the city, where fields begin to reclaim the land from stone and the palm. Trees lean a little toward the Nile, as if listening. The farmers are returning from the fields now, their hands stained with earth, their shoulders draped in fatigue. A cart creaks by, its wheels groaning like old philosophers. His donkey looks less enthused. You come to a small outpost, part toolshed, part weather shelter, part gossip hall. A group of field workers sits there, passing around dried dates and a jug of something thick and questionably fermented. They wave you over, not with enthusiasm, but with the kind of calm certainty that anyone carrying their own elbows deserves a seat. They talk in slow bursts about a neighbor's lazy goat, about the Pharaoh's latest decree banning overly dramatic funeral processions too noisy for the Aten, and about the price of onions, which, apparently, is always too high. One woman tells a story about her grandfather, who claimed to have once touched the Aten's shadow. No one questions it, but everyone glances up at the darkening sky, just in case it's still around. You join them. There's nothing but soft color and a single early star, possibly Venus, possibly just a particularly bright bug you help clean up the plates more as a gesture than a necessity, and head out across the field paths, following the low hum of crickets and the occasional splash of something unseen in the irrigation canal. The fields are quiet now, but you can still smell the grain warm, sweet, alive. Dock. Off to your right, a dog barks once, then curls into a ball beside a sleeping boy. They look equally unconcerned about the complexities of sun theology or the politics of footwear. You step through the rows, brushing fingers across stalks of barley that shiver like sighs in the breeze. One stalk is marked with red string to keep the ghosts out. Someone once told you you're not sure which ghosts, maybe the old gods, maybe just yesterday. Historians still debate whether the rural workers of Akhenaten's Egypt ever fully adopted the new religion, or if they just nodded along until dinner. The sky deepens, the city glows behind you, and you walk barefoot still toward. You find yourself returning to the city proper, tracing a different path this time. The light is low, the shadows longer, the sounds softened like wool soaked in river water. The streets, once dust-colored, are now shades of rose and quiet indigo. Lanterns begin to flicker to life, small clay bowls with flickering flames, each dancing like a nervous priest in front of an unfamiliar god. A family sits outside their home, weaving baskets by feel more than sight. Their youngest child is asleep, a lotus petal stuck to her forehead. You offer a quiet nod. The father nods back, then offers you a handful of roasted chickpeas, still warm. They taste like smoke and salt and the end of a long day. You pass a mural in progression finished, the figures sketched in charcoal but not yet painted. It shows Akhenaten raising his hands to the sun, with citizens below him doing the same. One of the faces has been lightly smudged, and you notice a set of tiny footprints leading away from it. Perhaps the artist's child got too curious, or perhaps the mural disagreed with itself. A scholar sits nearby, reading under lamplight. Not scrolls, just a flat board covered in practice symbols. He's murmuring the names of old gods and then crossing them out. Reflex, he says, noticing your glance. They're hard to forget. You nod, thinking of Ptah's hidden shrine and the sandals on the altar. Reflex, indeed. Down an alley, laughter breaks out from behind a curtain. Someone inside sings a verse from an old folk song, changing the words to tease their dinner guests. The street echoes with warmth. No one cares that the gods have changed. Supper is still sacred. You pause by a fountain, dry now, but beautifully carved. An ibis perches on its edge, looking as if it owns the property. You imagine it charging rent to passing frogs. A group of boys runs by, pretending to be soldiers. One is clearly Akhenaten, judging by the overly exaggerated royal wave. Another pretends to be the sun, yelling, "Behold me," until he trips over his own foot. The Aten would have understood. You round a final corner and see the temple again, silhouetted now. The rays of the sun disk have dimmed, but the little hands remain etched in gold. They don't shine, but they don't need to. They're simply there, watching, or maybe just waiting. A priest exits the building slowly, sandals in hand. You catch his eye, and he smiles a private smile, like he knows something and won't tell you, but approves of your curiosity. Historians still debate how the citizens of Akhenaten processed the sudden shifts in worship, in ritual, in rule. But you've seen it firsthand tonight. They cooked, they laughed, they prayed to multiple gods under one sun, and they kept walking barefoot. You lean against a wall, feeling the stone still warm from the day's heat. Somewhere in the distance, someone begins to play a slow tune on a flute. It's the same melody again. Of course it is. The stars begin to multiply above you. each one blinking like an old memory, returning without warning. You wonder if the Aten ever felt lonely being, the only god allowed to shine. Then again, you think, maybe that's why he let the stars keep their job. The stars are out now, scattered across the sky like spilled millet. They don't twinkle much. This isn't Greece, where the air is always performing. Here, the heavens hold their silence with a certain royal composure. You stand beneath them, at the edge of a small square where a few nightstall vendors are setting up, quietly optimistic that someone might want pomegranate seeds or reed pens after sundown. One stall sells charms. Not for the Aten, of course. He doesn't do personal favors, but for general luck, safety from falling bricks, and minor plagues. The woman running the stall wears a necklace shaped like a lion's paw. From my aunt's dreams, she tells you. You nod like that makes perfect sense. Because here, it does. You walk past a group of old men playing sonat, their laughter drifting lazily into the night. One accuses another of cheating, but they're too tired to care. A dog lies curled beneath the table, snoring with conviction. The streets glow softly with firelight. The houses are quiet now. Inside them, people sit cross-legged, sharing bowls of lentils and soft flatbread. There's not much ceremony left this late in the day. Just the closing of eyes, the brushing of crumbs, the whisper of good night in voices already halfway to dreaming. You pass a musician plucking a stringed instrument under a hanging fig tree. He hums more than he sings, the same lullaby again, though this time it feels older, sadder. Maybe it's the way he holds the final note, like it's the last warmth from a fire. The bread frog you left at the alley shrine would approve. At the far side of the square is a small amphora shop. The owner is dozing against the door, one hand still wrapped around a cup of wine. A single oil lamp glows beside him, reflecting off jars labeled in red ink for tears, for pickles, for rainwater eventually. Historians still debate how much of Akhenaten's reign was truly accepted by the people, and how much was simply endured. But under these stars, among lamplit courtyards and dusty laughter, the question feels beside the point. You sit down on a low step, back against a wall, still radiating the memory of daylight. Your legs stretch, your eyes drift. A fig drops from the tree above you and lands nearby with a quiet thud. You don't bother to move, and for a while nothing happens, and it is perfect. The night deepens, rich and slow, like a pot of stewing lentils left too long on the fire. You're walking again, mostly because the stone is cool under your feet now, and there's something satisfying about that. The moon is out, soft and oblong, like a polite coin tossed to light your way. You pass the royal bakery, still faintly warm from the day's work. A lone baker is inside, sweeping flour into little mountains. He hums to himself. He tells you he can never sleep until he's cleaned every corner. The goddess of dough watches. He whispers, eyes wide, possibly joking, possibly not. Further down, a teenage boy is practicing dance steps in an open courtyard, bare feet slapping rhythmically on stone. He sees you, flushes, and tries to pretend he was just stretching. You nod solemnly. Your secret is safe. Somewhere nearby, a palm frond falls, perfectly on beat. You arrive at a small neighborhood well. The water here is pulled with a rope and a lot of grunting. A woman fills her jug and offers you a sip. It tastes cool, sweet, and slightly metallic-like. Every sacred spring ever romanticized in bad poetry. You drink it gratefully. The woman nods once and disappears down a hallway without saying another word. A strong exit across the way. Someone's cooking something spicy. The air shifts. Even the stars wrinkle their noses. A man yells out a window, "Too much cumin." The cook yells back, "You're too much cumin." The Aten not get involved. As you wander back toward the center of the city, you hear a conversation between two young girls perched on a wall, feet swinging like sleepy pendulums. One is telling the other that she had a dream about the old god's Thoth, Anubis, Bastet standing in line to get into the city. Only Bastet got in, she adds, because she purred. The other girl nods. That tracks. You pause under an acacia tree that's losing its leaves in clusters, the branches whispering something you almost understand. The city is a little darker now, the fires smaller. A cool wind snakes its way through the alleys and doorways. You follow it. A guard passes by on patrol, his torch flickering, his eyes half closed. He nods at you, the universal gesture of "we're both too tired for trouble." His sandals dangle from his belt. Even the protectors of order are not immune to barefoot theology. Historians still debate whether Akhenaten's barefoot policies were theological, hygienic, or simply a matter of fashion rebellion. But tonight, as the city breathes through its souls, it all feels deeply natural. You sit again, this time on the edge of a garden wall. Above you, the moon is climbing. Below you, the earth holds its silence. Around you, the day has finally exhaled, and you, still barefoot, are exactly where you belong. It's nearly the deepest part of night now. When the city forgets itself, a little softens, loosens, and lets things slip that daylight might frown upon. You wander past a series of quiet courtyards, each one dimly lit, each one a kind of breathing room in the slow lungs of Akhetatn. In one such space, you see a gathering of people sitting in a circle around a small flame. They are not priests, not nobles, just neighbors. One of them is telling a story, something about a crocodile who became a priest by accident and had to give sermons in fish. No one believes it, but no one wants it to end either. They notice you, and with a nod, someone scoots over to make space. You join them. The night air has cooled to a perfect softness. The storyteller finishes his tale with a shrug. Or maybe it was a dream. My uncle lies a lot and passes around a bowl of roasted chickpeas. Someone else speaks up, this time with a quieter tale. A boy who left his sandals at a shrine and grew up without ever stepping on thorns. It sounds like a metaphor, or maybe just wishful thinking. Either way, everyone listens like it matters. A few people wear amulets tucked into their sashes, not for Aten, for Hathor, Thoth, best little gods, kitchen gods, the ones who sneak in through the cracks. You glance up at the rooftops, half expecting to see them perched like cats, watching. You're not disappointed. Historians still debate how many secret shrines survived Akhenaten's reforms. But stories like these don't require temples, just people and firelight, and the faint courage to speak aloud what you miss. Someone starts to sing, not a hymn, just a melody without words, humming along the same notes you've heard all day, now softer than ever. You hum, too, not because you know the tune, but because your breath has started to match it after a while. The group breaks up, people stretching and smiling, retreating behind curtains or into shadows. One woman pats you gently on the arm before she leaves, saying only, "Careful where you step." The stars have dropped lower tonight. You're not sure what she means, but you check your next few steps anyway. You walk on, the city thinner now, like a candle reaching its end. Your path bends gently toward the royal complex, though you are not entirely sure why. The area is mostly still, sleeping under layers of sandstone and command. The grand steps leading to the palace shimmer faintly under moonlight, their perfection, softened by sand and time. You climb them slowly. No one stops you, not now, not this late. At the top, you find a vast terrace, open to the sky. Columns line its edges, like watchful elders. A few servants sleep, curled against the walls. A forgotten basket of dates rests beside a pillar, half-eaten. A breeze moves through, just enough to remind the city it's still breathing. And there at the center of the terraces, Akhenaten, or rather, a statue of him. He stands tall and strange, with that long, impossibly narrow face, eyes lifted toward the sky. The sculptors have captured a look that is neither serene nor stern, but something more elusive, hope tangled with exhaustion. The Aten shines above him, carved into stone, a circle with those many-handed rays. The hands reach for him. He does not reach back. You sit beside the statue and study its feet. Bare, of course, but somehow they look unsure. A king carved to last forever, and yet his toes seem hesitant. A single moth flutters past you and lands on the Aten's outstretched hand. You both watch it for a moment. Then it lifts off and disappears into the dark like a forgotten thought. You wonder if Akhenaten ever stood here himself, barefoot, staring into the night, unsure whether the god he loved was listening. Maybe he thought the silence meant yes. Maybe he feared it meant nothing at all. Historians still debate whether Akhenaten died peacefully in his city or was buried elsewhere, erased by his successors and scattered like dust. But his city still whispers, and tonight it's whispering to you. You lie down on the stone beside the statue. The surface is still warm from the day's sun. The stars lean close, the moon blinks, and for a long time you do not move. You're not sure how long you've been lying there, minutes, hours, lifetimes, but when you finally rise, the air has changed. The city is at its quietest now. Even the dogs are asleep. Even the flies have given up. The wind hums against stone with the gentleness of a lullaby to tired to finish. You make your way back through Akhenaten one last time. The streets are empty, but not lonely. They feel held, as if the walls and thresholds and worn cobblestones are watching you, gently, like a parent, making sure you don't trip on the last step. You pass a doorway where earlier today a child offered you a flower. That flower is now tucked into the cracks of the doorway, forgotten or maybe left as a small offering to something no one dares to name. You smile. The scent of lotus still lingers, faint and sleep-dash drenched down another lane. The little garden with the sacred roots rustles faintly in the breeze. A cat you hadn't seen before stretches out on the wall and watches you with the calm judgment only cats and very old priests can manage. You nod. The cat blinks once, slowly, and returns to dreaming. You turn a corner and find the shrine where you left your bread frog earlier. It's still there. Someone has placed a petal next to it, a tiny feather, too, no coin. But perhaps the gods prefer whimsy to silver anyway. The city begins to glow from within, again this time, not with sun, but with rest. Soft lamps flicker behind doors, curtains stir, and from somewhere, unbelievably, you hear it, again that lullaby tune, drifting faintly through the walls, as if the city itself is singing to itself in its sleep. You realize, slowly, that you don't want to leave. Not yet, but time moves, even when we don't. So you make your way to the outer edge, where the streets meet the fields, and where night stretches open like a great, quiet sea. The stars above are brighter now. Or maybe you've just been looking more carefully. The city behind you is still barefoot, and the path ahead of you is warm. You take a step, then another. The dust clings gently to your feet, as if reluctant to let go, but it does, and the song fades, and the city sleeps. And so now do you. And so, dear traveler, we come gently to the end. The city behind your closed eyes remains still, bathed in gold and dust. Still barefoot beneath the gaze of the silent autumn, still whispering hymns that no longer need temples. The air grows softer now, heavier in the chest but lighter in the mind. Like that moment between wakefulness and dream when the world makes no demands at all. Let your breath slow with the rhythm of a distant Nile, winding around reeds and moonlight. Let the stories settle into the corners of your thoughts, small things, a lotus offered by a child, the soft crunch of a chickpea at dusk, a statue with uncertain toes. There is no urgency here, just the steady, patient unfolding of moments as slow and sacred as falling asleep. Even the gods grow quiet now. Even the wind moves with care. The path through Akhenaten is still there for you. In the warm stone beneath your feet and the lullaby that hums gently behind your ribs. Return to it any time. The city remembers, and you, with bare feet and rested eyes, are free to drift deeper now, into the hush of sleep, where memory and dream intertwine like painted hands on ancient stone. Rest. Well, friend, the stars are watching. The story waits, and everything is quiet now.